and what this is about this evening. Gosh, it was probably close to maybe 2 years ago, if my memory is correct, that a special committee was formed, an ad hoc committee was formed by the church during a business meeting to examine and to look at improvements within our building. We first, as a committee, decided to look at improvements to the youth area. And so we gave the youth priority. And there were simple enough improvements there in that project that we felt with our own plans and ideas that we would be able to accomplish those simply by hiring an individual contractor. And we did so, and all of that was voted on by the church, and those improvements were made. And so everyone was excited about that. And so then it was time to examine what at the time we were looking at two things, and that is improvements to the preschool wing and kind of check-in area, as well as the possibility of a welcome center. Okay, and so we're sitting around in a meeting with a bunch of knuckleheads, and everyone's throwing out ideas and going, "Well, I think we should do this. No, I think we should do this." And at one point, then the very wise and honorable mayor said, "Guys, I think we're in a little over our head. We should probably consult a professional on this." Well, at that moment, we all decided that was a great idea. We contacted the BGCT. They have an architect who will come out and will render some basic services. We contacted him. He came out and looked at our facility. He was in agreement with a lot of the ideas that were being passed around, but they lacked the overall just kind of ability to get a project all the way to the finish line and to render those drawings and a lot of those things. So it's probably been, again, excuse my memory, but it's probably been close to 8 months, a year ago, that at the time we as a church voted to hire Halo Architecture firm and begin to interact with them as far as some of our ideas in regards to a welcome center and updating the preschool area. Okay, at this time, if you do not have, again, you're supposed to have 2 handouts. One of them are some beautiful drawings, color drawings, and the other is some architectural drawings, okay? If you need both of those. At this time, I'm going to call the committee to come up and just show their faces to you so that you can get an idea who they are. But this committee has, I'm calling you guys up. There we go.
We're running off.
Oh, okay.
We're running off you.
Okay. So let me quickly reintroduce you to the committee. There are a couple who could not be here this evening, but we have Marilyn Thompson, Dita Carter, Judy Maka, go ahead and stand up here, Wendell, Galen Manning, Wendell Dunlap, who is the chair of this committee, and additionally we have Travis Morgan and Cody Curtis, who are both unable to be here this evening. But the short of it is we've gotten to the point in our process and in working with Halo Architect where we're very excited to be able to show you a proposal about a building renovation for the preschool and welcome center. Okay, and so Wendell Dunlap is going to say just a couple words.
I want to thank Brother Jason for all the work that he has done, this wonderful committee, for the time that they have spent on it, and actually Halo for all the renderings that they have made available to us and all the work that they have done to this point. I might say this, is that we've had several major projects since I've been in the church. We added the gymnasium and that facility back in the late early 90s, I believe it was. We renovated this facility. We added elevator, and all of those projects, we had to go through a fundraising campaign to raise money over and above what we normally give to the church. And so we'll be doing that again this time. And so we're asking not only for your support of the project, but also, actually, we're asking for your financial support to make this thing happen. We can't have, it will not happen unless we put the money in place to do it. But again, thank you so much, and we'll let Jason.
Thank you, committee. You guys can be seated. As I'm introducing Stan, you can get ready to come up here. Let me just say a couple things about working with Stan. He would never say any of these things himself, so I will say them on his behalf. It has been an absolute incredible delight to work with Halo Architect and with Stan Robertson. He has bent over backwards, and I literally mean he has bent over backwards to accommodate our small church and our measly project. This guy is hot, sought-after architect. He flies around the country. He does multi-million-dollar projects and renovations, church building, all of those things. And he has done our project and worked with our church for pennies on the dollar, what he would charge a normal church in a normal situation. He does it because he grew up in this church, and you guys know him and you love him. And so he does it as a ministry of serving the Lord. I can tell you in my interactions with him, his Christ-like character has been on display. And so Don, you have a whole lot to be proud of with your son there. To be able to be a professional in a very competitive world, and he does everything with extreme skill and excellence, and at the same time, there's no doubt that he honors Christ with his character. So with that said, he would never have let me said that with him up here, but let me introduce Stan Robertson and Halo Architect. Can everybody hear me? Is this on?
All right. Usually I talk loud enough that you really do not have to mic me up, so I'm going to kind of tame it down. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate that introduction. Hopefully I will live up to some of the words that he said. I want to thank you for coming tonight. What Jason and the committee has asked me to do tonight is give you a brief introduction to the project that we're going to present, and as a solution for two things. One of them is a connection center for adult connection/fellowship that you're seeing built all across the nation right now in most churches. The other one is how to address your preschool check-in kind of presentation and entry to a visitor coming in that has a young family. And so we want to go through that today. We're going to talk about not only Halo as a short introduction, but we're also going to talk about those specific spaces, some of the renderings that you're seeing on some of the printed material that you have. And then we're going to go ahead and go into the floor plans. And I'm just going to kind of give you a holistic view as to what we are going to do in order to create the spaces that you're seeing in these renderings that you have in your hands right now. As Jason mentioned, and I do walk around, so by the end of tonight you'll probably have whiplash. But I travel all over the country. We've been doing this for a long time. 2006, we dedicated our services specifically to churches and ministries with one goal, and that is to make it easy to invite people to church, lost people. We feel like a church facility is a tool not only to actually invite lost people into the church, but also to develop disciples inside of that church, creating the facilities that will allow them to do that. And with that fundamental belief and system underneath everything that we design and that we produce, we have had quite a ride. We've been asked to come to several churches all over the nation, and with that, what we've garnered, or what we've actually learned, is a few fundamental rules that a lot of churches are actually having trouble with when it comes to bringing lost people into the church, or families. Why would a family come to this church compared to the church down the road? And so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that today. Again, I'm the founder and president of Halo Architects. We've got offices in Lubbock, Texas, of course, where we're headquartered, and then we've got a smaller office in Austin, where we have both our architectural services as well as a media company that we own that produces these renderings that you see in front of you. Luke Quavey is actually a Plainview product as well. I don't know if some of y'all know the Quavey family, but they had been here for a long, long time. He is actually my primary church designer at our firm. He's been with me since 2007, and he's done a great job. And again, his contributions across this nation with church design is pretty lengthy. Garrett Hopper's been with me since 2008, so you're looking at three of the probably more tenured people within my firm, and they all three will be working on your project or already have. Well, we've actually made a lot of progress on this project that we're about to present to you today, a lot further than most projects when I'm doing these types of presentations. By the way, I'm up here, I speak to a lot of churches. I will tell you right now, just with the fact that this is my home church, the fact that my dad and mom and sister are in the audience, and my grandmother, this is probably the more nervous I've been making a presentation all the time. So this is our small group. We've actually got a few more people that are not in this picture, but just kind of give you a face as to the size of group that actually works on these projects. We've worked on everything from, again, small renovations up to $30 million churches. We're working on one right now in Detroit, Michigan that is $30 million. Our typical services, I mean, it's from Halo doing the church planning and design and working with the churches on their actual initial visions. We'll come into a church, the pastor has a vision as to where they need to go. We'll make sure that we back check that. We look at the resources at the church. We really get to know the church, and with that, we're able to listen a little bit more intently as to what they believe their goals are, and then we're able to also show them what other churches are doing to address some of the design problems they have on their site. 3D visualization is kind of our cornerstone. We believe we could be the best designers in the world, but if we can't communicate that design to you, we might as well be shooting in the dark again, because you have no clue as to what it is we're up here saying that we're going to do for you in a design. So we try to do everything through three-dimensional visualization, which is what you have in your hands right now with those 3D renderings, and that gains a lot larger understanding in how we are actually approaching some of the design problems that are unique to your church. Capital campaign consulting. Long time ago, especially during the 2008 to 2010 period, churches were building all over the place, and capital campaign consultants were, of course, helping our churches. Some of them got very busy and were not doing the type of job that we thought that they should, so naturally we had some people in the industry come to us, network with us, and say, hey, we'll pay attention to this, we'll keep it small, we'll do a very good job for your clients, and that's basically what started our capital campaign consulting side of our business. So now we will literally handle all the A to Z product of planning and design of the church, the actual communications of that to the congregation, as well as helping you raise the money to actually build the facility. One of our main mottos has been it's all about our churches. We try to come in, listen to the church before we ever prescribe any kind of design solutions to that church. Every church is unique in some form or fashion. And so with that, we want to make sure that we come in all ears. Even though I'm loud and I talk a lot, we do try to keep our mouths closed. We want to hear what you have as any kind of design problems that you have on site. What are you struggling with? If it's growth in a certain demographic, or if it's literally just parking. Where are people parking? We come in, listen to that. We apply that based on the experience we've had across the nation, and we tell you how other churches have addressed those. And we try to find solutions for each individual church in unique ways. Most common problems that we see all across the nation. Where's the main entry to your church? How do y'all think y'all are doing on that one? Okay. This project is not an exterior project, but down the road we'll talk about that. Adequate parking space. So again, College Heights Baptist is in no different position than churches all across this nation. They're all struggling with these exact same problems. On interior, preschool and children's ministry design, youth ministry design, adult connection and fellowship space, and adult worship style, and the options that you have inside of a space to transform the type of style of ministry or worship that you would do for different demographics in the church. These are the most common things that we see all across the nation, and so it's naturally one of our more time-consuming design problem that we have to address when we go and talk to churches. Fundamental scriptures that really drive a lot of our design or our belief system is naturally where there is no vision, the people will perish, Proverbs 29:18. We believe that we can have a conversation with the pastor and or the church leadership, depending on how they actually are organized, and we can get a really good idea real quick whether or not you're going to have a successful building campaign. And so where there is strong leadership towards that vision, which we believe God gives the pastor and or the leadership, again, however it's organized, God gives them the vision to push this thing forward. They then communicate that to us. It's our job to create a plan on how to implement it, how to solve all the worldly problems associated with code, and how to get that vision to the congregation in a format that you can understand it so that it's something that you can support. The other one, again, something that really drives, and I used this one on this project. Again, there are other scriptures, of course, that we talk about. But concerning this one, it is Luke 18:15-16. Now they were bringing even infants to him that he might touch them. And when the disciples saw it, they rebuked them. But Jesus called them to him, saying, "Let the children come to me, and do not hinder them, for to such belongs the kingdom of God." A verse so important, again, it's covered in Matthew and Mark as well. Where I'm going with this is the disciples were trying to do well. Okay, they were doing good. They thought they were by not bothering Jesus with what they considered to possibly be trivial. They thought they were doing a good thing. In this case, Jesus basically straightened them out and told them exactly what his value system was when it came to the children. We apply that same value system to all of our designs with all of our churches. You will see a lot of our churches will address children's ministry, preschool ministry, and children's ministry, and youth ministry before they worry too much about some of the older demographics in those buildings. It's a very consistent and fundamental principle in all of the halo designs, but if you study other designs out there, when it comes to the new church designs that are really addressing churches that are growing rapidly all across this nation, you'll see that's what they're focusing on. Okay? All right, recent projects. Based on some of those that I just talked about, some of you may be familiar with these projects. I know one's just down the street, of course, but I don't know if you knew about Harvest Christian Fellowship actually building a facility in Lubbock. Up at the top, this was an old skating rink, 30,000 square feet, just a pre-engineered metal building. On the bottom is actually the finished product. We stripped, of course, all of the facade off of this, created a new entry, made sure that they knew where the entry, one of the main entries is off of a major parking lot over here on this side, and you'll see a little canopy there. That's really the main entry. They have visitor parking out here, which then at that point they come in this entryway right in here. The reason I pulled these projects, it wasn't namely just because it's Harvest Christian Fellowship, which is your neighbor. It is appropriate because with these photographs, I can show you how we are addressing what a visitor sees when he walks into the church. How important it is to have guest services centers being the first thing that a guest sees when he walks in a church so that he's not fumbling around looking for the place that he's supposed to go, he or she, of course, the family. At the same point, we worry a lot about wayfinding and orientation. We want somebody to walk in that door and know exactly where they're going or where they need to go. In this same entry, this is coming off the main entry here, you have the children's check-in desk. Of course, all kinds of colors and decoration. You can't miss it kind of a thing. And then we have this lounge seating area, and just over here to the left is a little coffee serving area at this particular church. So everything can be seen from one location as a visitor actually enters this church. They know exactly where to go. All these places are going to be manned by people. And so this is another fundamental thing that you'll see throughout a lot of the Halo designs. A little zoom in on this little children's check-in area. Of course, depending on what the budget allows for, there's a lot of ways to make sure you're communicating where the children's check-in area is. But this is somewhat what people expect to see now when they're handing their infant child over to you. Not only something that is going to look fun and something that the children will have something to do inside of that space, but also be secure in that space as well. So a lot of our entries, you're going to see a single entry in, and it's manned by a desk so that you can control security however you want to control security within that church. Again, here are just some interior spaces of some of that ministry that is behind that main entry right there. This is one that you're probably more familiar with. This was the Super Kmart over on Overton Highway. Of course, this was, it's 100,000 square feet. The first phase on this is 55,000 square feet. So we came in here and, of course, had to knock out a bunch of columns. There's one column right there. If you've been in this space, you'll see a column or two out in the seating area. So you've got a lot of Bob Uecker seats in this space. Y'all get that? Y'all know what that is? I'm on the front row. Some of y'all are too young to even know what I'm talking about there. But there were a couple that are still in that floor plan. We did remove a lot of columns out of that space. Again, if you go into a big box retail store, you're going to see a lot of columns. If you compare that to this, you'll see probably how many columns we actually removed from that space so that this still could be an actual worship space. Something you're not going to have to worry about here, of course. But inside the lobby is what I really want to focus on with this, and that is they had a large serving area here. They had a large lobby. Right in the middle of that was the guest services center. Guest services center are used for anything from just receiving a guest that comes in the door. You can tell that they're a visitor. You're able to point them, if they've got children, to the children's ministry. You're able to point them to where the adults are congregating before the services. You can point directly to where the actual service doors are or have proper signage. And in this case, you have a full kitchen that actually serves that area as well for banquets and other things like that. So these are the types of spaces that we're designing right now just to address the way churches are receiving lost people, how they're ministering to lost people, and of course, how they are even using that space for teaching, again, building disciples. Most of our children's spaces, you're going to see those, they're painted, they've got murals. A lot of the paintings in a lot of our churches actually deal with some of the lessons that you'll have in church services, whether that's preschool or in the older children's ministry. But we like wide halls with big areas where parents can either walk down these halls, pick up their children, drop off their children, or just the workers are allowed back through these halls so that you can, again, control security however you want to control security. Again, we like check-in desks for those children areas. The desk itself is manned by a person to help guests check their children in. At the same time, we usually design kiosks on the walls so that the membership can go straight to the kiosk. They don't have to go through a line or anything to check in children. Again, areas outside in some of these guest or adult connection center areas. This is actually down the hall just off of the lobby a little bit. But in this area, you would be amazed at how many classes will sign up to reserve that area for a class environment, either on a Sunday morning, Sunday night, or Wednesday night. This is a project that we're going to break ground on literally this month. But this is in Holdridge, Nebraska. And what we did here is this is actually the original worship center. You see these glue lamps you have in this facility? This was designed exactly like the one you have. Right back here in the back, it's hard to see, but those are actual pipe organs. So this was the original worship center, very similar to what you're seeing here with pipe organs coming up in the middle, in the back, with a big clear story window where we have our cross. We blew out that back wall. We ripped all of this out. This became their new lobby in this specific church. Well, the reason we did that was because it literally was the main artery to all the other spaces inside the church. And so over here on the left, right over here, we've got a blow up of that. That's where we put the the serving area for coffee and pastries. And then over on the right side, and if you're a guest, you can't miss the children's check-in area. Now beyond that, if I go beyond that, back in this area is where we built the new worship center out beyond this existing worship center. Now, all that being said, how does that tie into College Heights Baptist and the project that we're talking about today? You've already got a sneak peek, so that's kind of not fair. Usually I'm the one kind of doing the reveal on some of this stuff, so you kind of know where we're going with this. But when I talked about the common problems we see all over the country, and I said College Heights is no different, I mean, a lot of churches struggle with these things. We're going to focus, of course, with this project that we're going to talk about and introduce tonight. It is the interior, of course, okay? And what we would like to address is the preschool ministry design, how you check children in, how it's presented to a guest when they first walk in the door, and how you handle security beyond the door. As well as an adult connection / fellowship space / classroom / coffee serving area. These spaces are being used for so much when it comes to ministry specifics that we've had, I'll give you a quick story. We went into a church, it was a traditional, it was Southern Baptist. One of the elders on the committee said, man, why would you ever build a lobby that large? It's just a waste of space. That could be classroom space. We could be teaching in that space. And luckily, the rest of the committee caught on to what we were doing with the design and everything, and they had done a little bit of research to see how churches were using lobby space. So this gentleman's voice did not overpower the rest of the committee. Long story short, project's built. 2 years later, we go in to do our post-construction and post-occupancy evaluation, where we come in and do another survey with the church, see how they're using the spaces, how things are going. That gentleman came up to us and said that was the best money spent that they had ever seen in any of the church projects that they had ever built. So he'd come full circle, seeing how the church was using the adult connection / lobby space, and saw how that could be used for not only just greeting people, but also conducting class and other things, banquets, whatever it may be, that he finally was a believer in how that space was actually being used and how it could still be a ministry space. This is really small, so this is the point where I will point, but you guys can refer on your documents that you have in hand. What I'm going to do is just give you a brief synopsis of exactly what we're going to do when it comes to the space that is just to the north of us down the hallway here. A lot of churches and a lot of places call that a narthex. Have y'all ever heard that in West Texas? I hadn't heard it. I had to learn that from our Midwest and Northeastern churchgoers. But anyway, so, Okay, so what we have here is don't look at this side right now. This is what we're going to build. This is the side that's showing what we're going to demolish. Okay? Right down this hallway is where we are. The worship center is down this way. As you come here, you've got a wall here. This is that staircase that goes downstairs. And this is the bank of restrooms. So right here is our access between our two hallways. This is the doorway leading into the gymnasium, the parlor, and the children's ministry. This is the side of our building with our glass windows there that continues on down. Okay, is everybody oriented? Anybody have any questions about that? Okay. So everybody knows right now, these are 2 classrooms. Okay, I don't know if everybody knows that we do have plumbing inside of this little nook in this classroom that we have here. So what the plan is we're going to demolish this wall and this dividing wall between the 2 rooms, and then we're going to renovate this area to become the plumbing for a coffee bar serving area. And so that way we're able to use existing plumbing. We're not going to have to come back through here, dig up any kind of concrete from the actual main water line, basically trying to give you the most bang for the buck possible there. This area will then become, what you're seeing over here, our main gathering area or connection space. If people come in the north entry, when they walk in this set of doors, which will be propped open most of the time, those cannot be removed, by the way, because that's a firewall. we have to maintain a 2-hour firewall all along this area here, that door included. So most of the time that will be open, of course. We just can't ever remove that door. We can't block it. We can't take the doors off or anything like that. It just would not meet code. But the idea is when somebody walks in this area, they're not only going to be able to see where the guest services center is, which is right here built off of that little serving area. They're going to be able to see people congregating, mingling. There's going to be activity here, and it's going to be activity so that you're not right there with the 30 other people that might congregate right there. And as well as you're going to be able to see a little piece of the children's check-in desk. We've got that projected out in the hall just a little bit there, just enough that you still have all this room between there and there to go through here. So we basically have kind of diverted the path just a little bit. It's not just a straight run anymore. The idea is when somebody does get to that point, or down here, down this hallway, they're going to be able to see where they're checking their children in. Okay, so that's this side. Now here, naturally, in order to gain that desk and get the space that we need in here, which will become somewhat of a gathering area for checking your children in, we're also going to demolish this wall here, as well as that wall going back there. Now there's a column right here. We're just going to build that into the design, wrap it, make it a television stand, whatever it's going to become. Again, I think that's what's being presented on the renderings that you have currently. Two other things that I want to talk about is we're going to renovate the restroom that is here. We're going to renovate what is a small kitchenette here. We're going to make that a second restroom. All of these within the children's ministry so that workers and children don't have to come outside of that secure door, which will be placed right there. And then that way it, once again, gives you a lot more options on how you can control security for your preschool ministry. One other thing that we're going to do is you can see this area here. This is Joe Berry's office. Where's Joe? Thank you, Joe. You're a trooper. Joe is going to allow us to build that his office and the choir room into a new large classroom for the children's ministry. So no demo involved in that. What we're actually going to do is we're going to close off this hallway right here. That's what you're seeing right there. Keep his door, and by using the secure door here now, this becomes a small gallery area, so it's somewhat of a transition space before the kids walk down the hallways into their classrooms. To a parent, that's going to be received much better than if a parent's walking down these hallways on their own with their children with no space between that's acting as a transition space. Right now, if you're familiar with the children's ministry, this is where you're checking children in addition to trying to filter them into your classrooms. Everybody understand that? Okay. So by this becoming a semi-private area, it's going to reduce all the traffic. The majority of the traffic is out here. You have the ability to control that door and say, hey, nobody goes beyond this door except workers, or you have the